Hello, this is Mackie with Flip Clop Fence, and we're going to do a review of the RC-6030D. It's been kind of a mystery to me for a while. I've had people on eBay say that it is the cousin of the RC-6015, the Back to the Future clock. It just didn't look like it to me, especially the underside, and I come to find out it's not. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick check here and see if we can demonstrate the differences. So what we've got here is an RC-6030D. You can tell that by the configuration, the label there, the RC-6030D. And if you notice, it's got a big open area here. That's how they decided to do the internals. If you go here, this is an RC, well, let's find out, what is it? RC-6035. Now you'll see something right away that the bottoms, if you go here to the 6030D and the 6035 are the same, except 6035 is black and this one's a brown. Well, they actually are exactly the same, and they're pressed from the same mold. If you go through and you look for tool marks on these things, you'll find they match exactly. They're almost like fingerprints. But you see here a plate that says the 6030D just so happens to cover that there. And I am certain that if I took a razor blade and scraped that off, somehow got that off, I'm not going to risk it, I don't want to damage anything, but you'd see that nameplate under there. So it is the same base. The difference between the 6030D and the 6035 is the 6030D here kind of has a bowed out look, and then this has more of a slant back look. So if you look here at the side, that sort of slants back. If you disassemble these two, and I've went ahead and taken the screws out of the bottom. So that's the insides there, and this disassembly is pretty much the same. And again, I've taken the screws off previously. Okay, if you look, you're going to see the internals are basically the same. These internals here are a little dirty. I haven't done a restoration on this, but it's the same. We can take off the slant back. These are basically interchangeable. Now you will have the thing that's different is the top. So your case here is going to be different. You can easily tell that if you look on the insides. You can see different part numbers, different things like that. So again, someone did tell me that it was the 6015 identical. It's not at all. If you look over here to a 6015, I've already pre-disassembled. The board here is different. You can see that right away between here and here. It's more of an elongated board. The circuit board is totally different. This got a lot more busyness, a lot more going on, and this one here is kind of spaced out. Now, just as a curiosity, we'll look here. What I've done to this clock when I bought the 6030D, it didn't have a good light, so that's got to be replaced. The alarms didn't work. Now, often that is due to this spring right here being missing. Now, the spring wasn't missing, but I can see that it had broke off, and someone decided to do what I thought would be a good idea, and it is just to use that post. If you see here, because this is identical, there is an extension here where the spring was originally designed to be on. It evidently can't handle the strain after a while, and it breaks. Now this one here, believe it or not, this part of the board is the same as the 6015. So if you wanted to, you could buy a 6015 and replace that, but that's crazy because 6015s are going for over $150 to $200 now. So if you wanted to fix one of these, either the 6035 or the 6030, you can buy an RC-6010, and this here will replace this. Now here's the deal. I wouldn't get into this unless you'd like to take stuff apart, because once you take this apart, it is a piece of work. So what you have to do to take this apart is you have to take off the 3 screws, which I've already done that for you, and then you've got to lift this up. Now to release it, you can take a screwdriver, or in this case I'm using a pick, and you're going to push outwards on these little tabs that happen to be holding to the circuit board underneath. So I'm pushing outwards and it comes right off, and this is where it gets real interesting, because you get to see how all the switching goes. This is the whole mechanism for switching. It tells you whether the radio is on, whether you're set for alarm, or whether you're set to go. You know, you should always unplug your devices before you work on them. I didn't get shocked or anything, but that wasn't smart. But anyway, you see how when I moved that, it did turn the alarm on. So anyway, so if you have this all apart, the only thing that this needed to do to be fixed was the grease had the dielectric grease here had kind of gotten hardened over time, and so I cleaned that off and put new grease on there, and it works great. So if you're brave enough to get down to this far, I'm going to show you the way to get back without tearing your hair out. So what you got to do is you got to place things back. So on this side with the little bumps, the smaller one goes in like that. Okay, then you take this one, put it in like so. This is pretty easy. This one goes on here, and it's bowed downwards. It's bowed towards down. The little nubbies are pointing up. There's little nubbies here and here. They're pointing up. And I'm just going to set that there. This is where it gets really difficult. This little arm here, it has to be so the nubby, there's a nub right there. I don't know if you can see that. That nub right at the end, that has to be pointing up. The open hole goes right here. And this is where it gets really fun. So it just goes, it's supposed to just rest right on there. There. And what I like to do is to get this, it actually fell into place, but get this so that it rests in that little nook right there. What that does is that gets it out of my way. That's your sleep selector. I don't think anybody uses that stuff anymore. Okay, so there's that. Everything's ready, and it's ready to fall apart. If I get this done the first time, I'll be lucky. So here we've got the arm that actually turns on the alarm. It actually comes all the way out, but we're going to put it back in. The spring's off of it. We'll load the spring on later. So what we got to do is it's best to turn the clock this way than to try. Now what I'm looking for is the spring, which I seem to have misplaced, because what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get that spring on this post. That spring, that one part of that spring has to be on that post. I wouldn't keep it connected here because it'll pull when you're trying to put it together. Anyway, to get that back on, you've got to aim this in. You've got to aim that big hole right there. That's this black thing right here. And this right here has to go in here. So it's best to tilt the whole situation up like this, and you're going to put it on and snap it in place. Now, I'm not going to do it right now because I can't find my spring, but that's how you do it. You turn the clock and you push that in, and that's the way it's supposed to look. If you have taken it apart and you didn't take pictures, so that's what it's supposed to look like. Okay, again, I wouldn't do it unless you're brave. It is a little bit aggravating if the first couple times you do it, especially when you lose your spring on camera. Oh, here it is. So, in any event, we don't have to do that. It's just time consuming. So here's what we've got. We've got the RC-6030D, which is basically the same as the 6035, except for different configurations of the front piece, and then which it bears very little resemblance, but there is some similarities to the 6015, but they're not interchangeable. So that's it. A lot of techno for clock geeks who are interested in putting them, doing some restoration. If you have any questions, message me. I'd be glad to help you.